perfectly timed and beautiful.
Yep. And then the transition that only works when we're not live.
The transitions.
God, I need to put like a filter on Pat to make him brighter. Or something. Anyway, hey, welcome to the show. It's me, I'm Brian, that's Pat, and we're joined by Jim today.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim. And we're going to talk about the Batman. Not just any old Batman. You know the one. The Batman.
The cartoon show with the shoeless Joker.
Exactly. The Batman, played by Kevin Michael Richardson.
I've been waiting years to talk about this underappreciated animated series. The definitive Batman.
I think it just came out on Blu-ray, actually.
Really? And it had the theme song that went like Batman. At the end, it was so catchy.
It was a definitely an interesting show coming off of Batman the Animated Series. I didn't really like it, to be honest.
They were like, that show. That Batman the Animated Series is not that good. I think we can do better. Shoeless, dreaded Joker.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the way to. That's what the people want.
Was that the next Batman show? Right after animated
Pretty sure,
series?
yeah.
I don't know. I think that there was a short moratorium where it was just like, well, I mean, that was the greatest version of Batman that will ever be created. Probably not jump right at its throat. But not the worst segue ever. Did you guys ever watch Brave?
Oh yeah, I love that show.
Some of it. I've seen a couple episodes.
I thought it was an excellent show.
That's the one with the Blue Beetle, right?
Yeah. And it was Batman teams up with people. You know, much like the old Brave and the Bold comics. But the last episode is ridiculously sad. Wow! Thank you for fixing that.
I'm working on it.
What are you anyway?
I'm doing stuff. Just keep talking.
We're live, pal.
I know. This is Brian likes to work.
Listen, as long as no one's watching right now, I'm gonna do stuff. Just wait. Look, you want to be invisible?
Right.
There you go.
Fair enough.
Let's see. We can make him a little.
Anyhow,
this isn't distracting at all. We're professionals.
The way the show ends, Mr. Mixit shows up to Batman and basically he's voiced by Herman, which is awesome. He tries to get the show canceled, and then he does, and it turns out that he's sad. And the very last end bit of the show is people are taking down the sets, and Batman is just standing there, and he's just sad that it's over. It's like this is really terribly way to end a show. This is heartbreaking. And then the next one was like the CGI Batman. It lasted like one season and done. Not very good.
I would have thought Herman got canceled by making Batman masturbate in a theater.
No,
and then he would have had to have gotten canceled because you can't do that.
It's an urban legend.
That Batman masturbated in a theater. Can I say that on your show? Okay.
Well, yeah. We actually, since no one listens, you can say
it's the medical term. And the doctor would say to you. So, especially if the doctor was Pee-wee Herman.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't remember the CGI Batman show.
I know no one does. It was very.
When was Batman?
When was
Batman
Beyond?
Beyond?
The same time. Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond was probably right after the animated series. Because it's technically
Batman Beyond was right after animated series, but before Justice League.
The Batman.
I don't know when that. I honestly don't know when that show came out. Because the Justice League was also a direct descendant of the animated series. And I feel like that came out after
it did. It was.
But it could have maybe that show hit during Justice League Unlimited or something. Like at that point, they were far enough away that they could make a new Batman show.
2004 to 2008.
The Batman was definitely after Justice League.
That lasted years.
Yes. My son Teddy wouldn't watch the Joker because the Joker was too scary.
Well, I mean, he scared me too because it was terrible.
I thought it was okay.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Enjoy talking about the Batman.
I didn't like how they drew people's kneecaps in the show, like they were action figures. So I didn't like it.
Yeah, that was.
You would have think that would have brought me on board.
That was kind of the style at the time. The Transformers show that was on, was 3D modeled, and they modeled like literally the toys with all their joints and pins and everything, and like the missiles they shot had the long safety trail at the end and everything. Like they literally modeled the toys.
That just sounds like pure laziness.
Yeah, give the
like they just put them in a scanner.
Give the animators the toy as the reference, and they're just like, we're just literally going to do this thing. Anyway, should we talk about since we're out of topics now? What if we talk about the Batman movie that just came out, The Batman?
The Batman. That is excellent idea. I feel like this is going to be you guys are going to have hot takes because I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I saw it twice in theaters and once at home. Both times I saw it in the theaters. I saw it at Marcus with their big I forget what they call it. Like deluxe screen. It's like their version of IMAX, like a giant screen with the Dolby Atmos chair and I loved it. And everyone that I talked to that had seen it had loved it. So I feel like you guys didn't love it.
Well,
and I can't wait.
I want to go on record as saying that literally everything leading up to the film I hated. Every trailer I thought looked like shit. I thought every decision to me brings me and to explain quickly, it just brings everything further away from the Batman that I wanted to see. I felt like we were very close to seeing a true comic book representation of Batman on the screen. We were very close to that. Ben Affleck wore a suit that was so close. But then instead of being Batman, he was Frank Miller's dick in a Batman costume.
Well, that's Frank Miller's Batman.
That's what I'm saying. But I would love to see like a traditional Batman. And I've always said, I want to see the detective version of Batman. And then I saw this movie, and I said to myself, well, shit, I liked it.
I liked it too.
Overall, I did like the movie. I think that there were many things within the movie I did not like. But overall, I did. Actually, I am a.
The first time we talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the show, we kind of went through all of the silly things.
Hold on. You already did this show? Why did you do it again?
We did a short.
Okay.
We did like a stinger at the end of a show about our feeling about the show. This is a full. We're gonna dive deep into everything.
Good. I didn't want you to redo an episode because that's all I wanted.
No, and it's fine because I don't even remember what I said on the last one.
We've been trying to talk to Jim for a long time. Right.
So Brian, liked it.
I liked it. I was not as put off by the marketing as Pat was in the beginning. Like I liked how the suit looked. I didn't like when the rumor was that the bat symbol was the gun that murdered his parents because that sounded like it was really it sounded really stupid and illogical.
Like
3 years ago.
For a while. Well, the way it doesn't look like a traditional bat. And it's got a good look at how it looked. And so the rumor was that it was like a
because in the comics at the time, in the comics at the time, there was a story where like he melted down the gun and made the bat logo for his suit.
I want to say it was a Kevin Smith story that he took Joe Chill's gun and melted it down into his emblem. That I'm more okay with than literal like pieces of a gun affixed to him.
That makes way more sense than just literally a revolver, which is what I was picturing.
I would pull up a video, but I'm afraid to test the browser view that I set up.
Don't do that.
Oh no, I'm gonna try it. You're gonna try it.
Overall, Did that just kill the video? Did that just kill the video?
What?
It looks like.
Did it?
No, it did. Okay. No, it did. Okay. No, it's okay. No, it's okay. For a second, everything went still, and I couldn't hear anyone.
We got 0%
It may be an internal problem.
Correct. So all in all, I thought that the movie was very well. I liked the movie. I'm not going to say that the movie was very good because there are some weird things that go on in that movie that I feel like make. I don't know. Like it seems like the scenes that go on. Did you notice any scenes that just felt like they were just to fill space for in a movie that was already long? Because I feel like there were several.
I would say that I felt like the only problem I had with it was that it was 3 hours long. Like I feel like it could have been shorter. But I can't pick out one scene in particular where I'm like, this just goes on too goddamn long.
Just for instance, the one that got me the most was the end bike riding sequence. Batman and Catwoman. They say their goodbyes. And it's like when we used to stand out in front of the movie theater. Stand there for like half an hour and we'd talk about the movies. We gotta go. And then we were like, oh, we all say goodbye. This is just weird. Like that went on for like 2 minutes. 2 minutes of them just like we're riding bikes. You're getting a little further ahead. Now I'm getting a little further ahead. It's like okay, that's probably enough. Nope, they're still going. Okay, they came to a stop. Okay, they're gonna keep going together. They're gonna keep going together. Still. Oh, they came to the end of the road. One went together. I feel like that journey was already over. We knew that this was gonna happen.
They live in the same direction.
In the long sequence of them.
Anyway, look at this
I
picture I brought up of the thing. Like you could see how it was a plausible rumor that this was made out of like the gun because it the weird detail of it and everything.
I mean, obviously, it looks like a more modern gun.
I mean, I don't know what year this thing takes place, and this movie had some of those like old cars and stuff.
I'm not a gun enthusiast, so I don't know. Somebody said that looks like a gun. I said,
yeah, I mean, kind of looks more like a holster.
I guess.
I mean, it turned out to be a knife.
Turned out to be fine. It was a dumb rumor. But
so for example, that scene you just described, I loved it.
So, but why?
And in the moment, I didn't feel like this is too long. Huh?
Well, what did you enjoy about it? What am I missing? What am I missing?
No, you didn't miss anything. I liked watching them ride side by side. They said their goodbyes. I wonder what they're thinking about in that moment. Literally go their separate ways. He can't help it. He's got to look back at her. And there she goes. And there she goes. She's out of his life. And maybe he'll never see her again. And now I got to go be Batman. So I wasn't in the middle of any individual scene thinking like, Christ, can we just fucking finish this scene?
I'll give you
at the end. But I did feel like
I'll give you my. For the most part, I thought that the drama, like when he would like walk through the shadows and you would hear the footsteps and everyone's like, is he in the shadows? Is he not? I thought all that was fine. I think the scene that that kind of showed the what kinds of things could we have cut out to make this movie a little bit shorter was when he was reaching into the cage that had the bat in it to get the clue out at the top. And it's like the music is getting more and more dramatic and he's slowly reaching in to the cage and the bat's flying around like crazy.
And we all know that he's going to find it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And he's wearing like bulletproof armor, like the most bulletproof armor ever.
In the theater.
So.
He doesn't want to hurt the bat.
Sure.
I know what's happening here. It doesn't have to be.
It was a very, very long and dramatic scene for just pulling a clue out of the thing. It's a nitpick. I really like this movie. All I have is nitpicks.
The other bit that I felt like was right. The other bit I didn't like. The other bit I didn't like that was just too long. Was Riddler going Bruce Wayne.
That was a fun fake out.
It was just like it was a fun fake out. It was a fun fake out, but we didn't need to have him say Bruce Wayne 15
Yeah,
times.
12 would have been fine.
You know what I mean? I feel like it was. I feel like it was a bit too much. Again, too much. Again, for a 3-hour movie. For a 3-hour movie. This is the thing. This is now again. I'll say. Now again, I'll say. I left the theater. I didn't feel like I sat through.
No, it moved real.
I had to pee really bad. I had to pee really bad.
I was like 3 hours. I was like, man, that was too much.
I picked the perfect time to go pee. The first time I had seen it. I had to pee so bad. And it was they were on the roof. Catwoman, Batman, and Batman are talking, and I'm like, I bet they're gonna talk. I bet they're gonna talk, and like maybe this is almost kiss or something. I can go to the bathroom. And I went to the bathroom and came back. And that scene was like just ending. And so I missed that Falcone was her dad, because that's when she tells him. So for me it was like bigger surprise at the end. Oh shit, that's her dad. Yeah, that's when you went to pee. I was like, oh. Well, it made it better. So maybe you could have just cut that whole scene out, because I peed and I didn't feel like I missed anything.
Well, right, and so like I said, it's a bloated. And then did you see that? Did you see that scene that I actually think should have been left in? Where Batman goes and talks to Joker.
Yeah, I see why they cut it out.
I mean, I see why they cut it out. But if of all the things, I thought that was a scene. You know what I mean?
Oh, what?
You know what I mean? It was like it shows their rapport, and I don't think that the reveal of him at the end was that mind blowing. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I would have rather had that scene in than to keep the surprise of a Joker character.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think they took it out to keep the surprise. I think it would definitely would have pulled me out of that was going on. Just all of a sudden drop me into here's the Joker. I'd have been like, well, hold on. Is he the mastermind? Is this the guy coming in at the end of the movie? Is like what else is going on? I would have totally lost focus on the rest of the movie.
I like that stuff. I think they don't do that enough with Batman. I feel like Batman. We should see more of like holy shit, he just grabbed Killer Croc. Or like Gotham is supposed to be seething with all of these wonderful bad guys, and like seeing glimpses of them, I think are fantastic. So like the notion that there's Joker's in jail right now, because again, we all know the Joker and Batman backstory.
Right.
Now, which Joker we're getting, who's to say, that's one of those things. So I think it would have been fine to just dip him in. We because this is year 2. Like, we know that Batman's been Batman for a year. I don't know if they explicitly say that, but that's been stated.
He has a journal.
It's in his journal.
Yeah, year 2.
Oh right. So we have to assume that he's met up with some formidable foes in his first year.
Right.
And so seeing something like that wouldn't have pulled me out. I would again because Joker is such a familiar character. I would have just been like, oh, that was cool. He's trying to like Hannibal Lecter. That's cool. I like it. But I don't know. Again, for a movie that has too much stuff in it that I thought was boring as shit and pointless. Knowing that a scene like that got cut. Really? You cut something from the movie and that was it? So I would have taken that over the silly bike ride any day.
I didn't think it was silly though.
I think it was.
I thought it was meaningful.
Not at all. You're wrong. I'm sorry. No, obviously, it can be read different ways. But I think that. I guess I think it could have been accomplished with much less time fed to it. Given the things that went on in this film and how long they took, giving the moment of him riding a motorcycle next to the girl that he likes, like it doesn't even seem very Batman to me. You know what I mean? Like Batman isn't like a wear your heart on your sleeve fella. And that was like,
and he didn't
run next to the train.
Well, they both had to travel down that road to get where they were going, but it was sort of, we got to zoom out and get a bird's eye view of these two characters without being in some like dramatic noir scene. and you just got to kind of see them from afar and go their separate ways. I liked the Joker scene that they cut out. I thought it was great. I would have felt like it stole the Riddler's thunder by just throwing. It's like, like Macho Man's in the main event. Oh, cool. And then like Hogan comes out for the save, and it's like, oh, look, Hulk Hogan's there. Give the Riddler his moment.
I will say that is my second and probably my biggest gripe with the film is I hated the Riddler.
Oh,
I thought that the depiction of the Riddler was the worst. I liked what he did.
The worst thing in the movie?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I like I said, I like that his Riddler traps were Riddlery. I liked that part. Visually, I thought it was just horrific. I hate the gimp. There's no precedent for that version of the character to exist.
Oh, right.
And it didn't do anything for me, and I don't think it did anything for the film. It would have been something else if at the end he was still loose, and you were like, oh no, because that's where I was like, okay, he's got this militia thing going on. That's where the suit's going to come into play. You're not going to know who he is because everybody could look like him. And then I was like, nope, they got him already. There's no point for him to be in this outfit. Just to get these guys have a uniform now. That's none of that is scary to me. They could have just as easily been wearing 66 shirts with riddle marks or question marks on them. And I feel like that conveys the same message to me. It was pointless to take an existing character, and plus I'm mad still. This is not at the movie itself, but as cinema as a whole has never given us a good Riddler. And this is something that maybe I just take personally. I hate when they keep giving us versions of characters that aren't the right one, the iconic one. And this movie could have been Riddler as we know him. You know what I mean? Riddler has never been portrayed as an incel. He's always been a sophisticated.
I've never seen him fuck anybody.
Fella.
Huh?
I've never seen him fuck anybody though.
Well, I guess that's true.
That'll be on the Blu-ray.
But you know what I'm saying though? Right. But I mean, can you see from a comic fan's point of view, we've still never gotten that because I've always thought Riddler was a really good Batman foe because he always kept his head. He always seemed one step ahead of Batman, and in many cases he was until he wasn't. You know what I mean? And this Riddler was kind of Riddlery. He had riddles.
Yeah. He was always several steps ahead.
He was very ahead.
To a point.
He knew
he was ahead.
He knew that with one line
he
could get Batman to move a specific human under a specific lamp at a specific time so he could shoot him. Even though that guy presumably goes in and out of that place all the time.
But sure.
Well, they were teaming up.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he lost his footing when he was a complete psychopath and he was under this delusion that Batman was helping him.
Right.
No, I loved the Riddler. I thought I loved every moment of it from the first scene where he's in the background. My heart was pounding because it was terrifying that he's back there and he's just gonna fucking murk this guy. See, I don't need I've seen the Riddler. I don't need an accurate portrayal based on any other medium because I have those other portrayals to go back to if I want to.
But this is where I come down to on a lot of things. It wouldn't have hurt the story if this character was Calendar Man. Or they could have picked it could have been the Mad Hatter. You know what? And the story wouldn't have changed much.
I guess, but the riddles were kind of part of the story. He's got to figure out all these puzzles.
Sure, but I mean, they could have been riddles based on Alice in Wonderland, and then it's the Mad Hatter. If you can take a character and just make a small tweak to their plot movers, and it could be a different character, then I feel like you didn't do that character enough justice.
I guess. I think, if you're Warner Brothers though, and you want to make a Batman, and you go, who's the fuck is? People know who the Riddler is. They've heard of the Riddler,
well,
even if you don't really
know who the Riddler is. Well, right, but the only reason they know who the Riddler is because the Riddler's been in Batman movies. Like that's another thing that I thought was a detractor from this movie, is that they gave us the Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman, Falcone, like nothing new. You know what I mean? Like there was no new blood added to this. Batman has one of the largest and coolest rogue galleries of any hero ever, and there's tons of very marketable characters that people know who they are that would have been awesome in a movie like this, but they still chose to go safe with these, handful of characters that have been around forever.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, but it's kind of to be expected.
I'm just saying, but why should we have to expect it? That's what I'm saying. Like
you'd have to ask Warner Brothers. They have all the money
because they have all the
putting
money.
Up
they
for the
want
movie.
more of the money.
But they have all the money because we keep giving it to them.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Pat, you're part of the problem.
I'm just saying. I am part of the problem. I paid for this, but the thing I'm saying is that I think that especially in a discussion forum, we can rant about not what we wanted.
Let me give you.
Well, my expectations were so low, coming off of The Dark Knight Rises, which I initially liked in my half asleep stupor, and then feeling like I was about, the first time you're seeing a movie, in your mind you have expectations and you think you're feeling a certain thing because that thing is happening. So you have certain feelings the first time you see a movie, like, oh shit, Batman is dead. Oh my God. He really did the sacrifice play that Tony Stark wouldn't do, but then he would years later. He did it. And then he's like, just kidding.
Just kidding. That water broke his fall.
Having my Fernie Brank. And I was like, you motherfuckers. But while I'm experiencing it, I'm like, yeah, he's dead. Oh shit. He really did it. Well, I guess that's a pretty good payoff then for the rest of the shit I just sat through. Batman's dead, and he finally gets a big statue to him, but he's not there to appreciate it. And oh, surprise, I'm not dead. I'm with Catwoman in Milan or wherever the fuck they are. So, like there's that.
Right.
But overall, every time I see that movie, it gets worse. So I saw the trailers, and I'm like, God, this looks like it's going too dark on purpose. And I just got through Zack Snyder movies, and those are dark, literally dark, and there's no colors because like they accidentally turn the colors off or something. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is just, I got no hope for this movie. And I saw it, and I loved it, and it was instantly my favorite Batman movie as soon as I saw it. So, my expectations were really low.
Well, and I gotta say, I came in the same way. I came in because I expected to hate this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like. Well, I mean, just like I said, just from a visual standpoint, like when I looked at the bat suit in like action figure form, I was like, this isn't cool. I don't like this. Saw Penguin, who's just a fat guy, and the fact that Colin Farrell is in there is so weird to me. Like it's not even like he was like, oh man, he did such a great job portraying the Penguin. It's like he just like they could have gotten any fat mobby guy and been fine with this.
And he just has like a normal New York accent.
He was excellent. Colin Farrell was so good in this movie.
Right, and he's so good because you can't tell that he's him. You can't tell that he's a good actor.
He did a really good job, and it had to happen 2 times where I'd already told someone that Colin Farrell's the Penguin, and then as they're watching it, they're like, Colin, you said Colin Farrell? I was like, yeah. The guy from the phone booth. Yes, that's him.
Mm-hmm.
Where even after they knew that's Colin Farrell.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Then they're like,
they did a very good job.
I think I'm thinking of someone else. No, you're thinking of Colin Farrell. That's him in there. He's in there. Yeah. Oh, right. I loved all of his scenes. He was cracking me up.
But listen, what I'm just trying to get to is that was there a point to it?
to having him in a noir movie, having that character in a detective movie?
No. Penguin's fine, but the only reason you're that I feel like people are praising his portrayal of the Penguin is because you couldn't tell it was him.
No, I thought he was really well acted.
So it could have just not been him.
And I didn't know he was a good actor.
It was really well acted. I think what
I've never seen him in anything and go, God damn, Colin Farrell can act.
I think what Pat's trying to say is, why did they cast Colin Farrell, a very good actor, and dress him up like the Penguin when they could have just cast a very good actor who looks like the Penguin?
Oh, I can't think of any off the top of my head,
Richard
but
Karn.
I don't. You keep workshopping.
I think he did a really good job because I've never seen him in anything else where I did a good job.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
That's fair enough.
No, and like no slight against Colin Farrell, but what have I seen? Phone Booth and Daredevil and SWAT. Like
he was
I'm sure he was in some good movies.
Bullseye.
I just haven't seen him.
He was the only Bullseye.
He was totally the best Bullseye.
What are you showing me that for? He was cracking me up the whole fucking movie.
He did a good job.
What I particularly enjoyed about this movie is that it leaned into certain comic book things, assuming the audience knows them and doesn't bother to explain them. And I think that, like, he's called the Penguin. There's no explanation given for that. He doesn't really look or act or talk or anything like a penguin. That's just what they call him. And it plays into their dumb, we need to find all the people who are named after birds and figure out if they're the informant kind of thing. And
except when they tie his feet up and they leave him there, and
then he has to waddle.
He can't.
And they got an audible laugh in the theater.
There's
he's a penguin.
The Riddler, and I didn't think about this until well after I saw the movie, but like the Riddler, clearly his entire plan is based around the fact that Batman is like a world-class detective, but there doesn't seem to be any sort of indication that anybody other than like Alfred knows that Batman is like a world-class detective. Like he just appears out of the shadows and beats people up and then disappears. And he hasn't been around for very long. And so it kind of relies on the fact that everybody in the audience also assumes that Batman is a world-class detective, and you just don't think about that until later. But it's fine. It worked out,
In its year two, we don't know.
Right. One of the things I really liked was their willingness to just be like, no, it's the Riddler. Like they usually shy away from using the actual bad guy names.
I love that they leaned into it.
You get like you do get those one-liners where they're just like, they call him the Penguin because he lives in the sewers like penguins, but
the Nolan movies were the worst. Yes. There's so much exposition that doesn't. So Brian points out how we understand that Batman's a world-class detective, so they don't need to explain that to us. Right. And in the Nolan movie, they explained the Underground Railroad like in depth. Your grandfather built this to smuggle slaves into Canada for the Underground Railroad. That's when we would take slaves and they were free, and we would smuggle them into Canada so they could stay free up there. Like, oh, thanks. I know that because I'm Bruce Wayne and I'm a billionaire who's been educated. Why are you telling me this again?
The other thing that
someone out in the audience might not know about the Underground Railroad.
I'm never going to interrupt your Michael Caine impression if I can help it. The other thing that I enjoy about this movie is that I don't know if this was intentional or not, but the message of the movie seems to be that of like Riddler, Batman, and Bruce Wayne, Batman is like the least effective in fighting crime. Like Riddler actually solved a great deal of corruption, which I'm sure is going to like have effects on there's going to be knockoff effects on the amount of petty crime. And Bruce Wayne is like, if he had just actually like looked into what his company is doing and done good things with his money, he could have made a huge difference. And Batman just like beats up people who are robbing like liquor stores and stuff. So it's like,
you're right.
But again, one of the things I really liked about the movie is that it starts out exactly where we were hoping it wasn't going to go, where it's so dark and gritty and he just pummels the shit out of bad guys. But then by the end, he's like, that wasn't the
Yeah, in the beginning, he's like, I don't feel like I've made a difference.
I really
Yeah.
did like that.
Yeah, he feels like he didn't make a difference because he hadn't. So the point, the message of the movie is sometimes we want vengeance, but vengeance isn't going to solve it.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, that's proved that because Riddler gets the vengeance, and then Batman wants vengeance, and that whole scene where Catwoman saves him, and then the Riddler henchman guy says that he's vengeance. So they all think they're on the same team. We're all just about revenge and getting the city right.
So much so that Riddler didn't even think he didn't realize they weren't on the same team until he was already in jail.
Right. And I like that element that Riddler is not all there, that he's got this other delusional picture of what's really happening. Because otherwise he totally would have figured out that Bruce Wayne's Batman.
Right. I do think that is probably one of the only things that I felt like they really did from the classic characters, that he does, like, Riddler does have, like, that's why he's a villain. You know what I mean? Like, he's super smart, but there's obviously something like broken in his head where he does these things. And so it's like I said, at the end of the day, when I add the movie up of the things I don't like and the things I do like, I liked the movie. I just think that there's enough stuff I didn't like that I need to voice it, because I feel like everybody that I've talked to, like, loves this movie and thinks it's the greatest movie ever made. And I don't. And that's okay. It's people otherwise. But I'm just saying that there are definitely things in this movie that I feel like they could have done better without altering the quality of the movie. Right. And that's a problem that I've had with superhero movies from the get-go, where it's like, why do you change something about a superhero to something equally as ridiculous? You know, like, why? Okay, we were just talking about the names. They went hard. Batman says the Riddler like 30 times in the movie, but when it came time to reveal it couldn't be Edward Nygma. He had to be something else because that's too silly.
What if Edward Nygma is one of the other Riddler goons? And they're going to bring him back in the sequel.
I don't know enough of the Riddler lore. I always just assumed that wasn't necessarily literally his name. I knew it wasn't Batman Forever, but I'm like, made up. But this is
it was he was made up back in the old days of kooky comics, so that was definitely just his name.
Yeah, but, so I always looked at it as like that's the Riddler's version of what his name is. You know, his name on Schmansky or something, but he's like, that's not cool. And Ridley,
that's what they would do in like a Christopher Nolan movie.
Enigma.
That's the kind of thing they would do in a Christopher Nolan movie. Is his name would be something, well, like whatever it was in this name, and that he would decide. Why don't you
look under my birth name, Riddler?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah, no, my real name's Robin.
Right.
Why don't you check under my birth name? And we're all in that moment. What's going through all of our heads is like, ooh, Dick Grayson? Oh, Jason Todd? Right. Like, and then he's like, Robin. Why don't you check under my birth name, Mr. Freeze? Like, what the fuck?
Once so again, bad. that in the comic books, that name is Victor Fries. It's not a joke.
I would be shitting
there. Mr. Fries.
I would be shipping my Fernie Branca, and I would look, and I would see you over there, and you'd be with the family, you'd be with someone, and you'd see me, and I'd see you, and we wouldn't say nothing, even though I raised you. We wouldn't say a word to each other, and I would just sit there, sipping my drink, looking at you, sipping your drink, and then it literally happened.
Yeah, exactly like that. Well, because that's how Batman.
Which is why I like the fan theory. I like the fan theory more that that is just Alfred going senile. That did not happen. Batman is
he's dead. Lost his mind.
Alfred is just like right. He's like, I'm just gonna use some Wayne money and go on a trip. And there's Bruce. I see him all over. So
it's we didn't come here to talk. Can we talk for one more second?
But
that movie starts out with him not having been Batman for, I don't know, 8 months, a year. I don't remember
I
if they
feel
even
like
tell
it
us.
was more like 3 years.
No, I feel like he was Batman for like. So at the beginning of Dark Knight Rises, that's what we're talking about, right? I feel like he's been
Yes.
Batman for like 1 year.
Yeah, Batman Begins happens. Then he's still like, let's say it's a few months after that, or 6 months or a year. And then The Dark Knight happens. And then he's like, I got to stop being Batman. I've been Batman too goddamn long. And then in the beginning of Dark Knight Rises, he hasn't been Batman for a while. And then Alfred's like, you guys get out in the world. You're just sitting around here just feeling sorry for yourself. Well, and then in 10 minutes, he's like, you can't just be running around being Batman all the time.
He might go see a movie.
Make up your mind.
I hated that movie from the first viewing. I did not like it. But it was because of the expectations of the other movies.
Yep.
How did Dark Knight end?
They let Nolan have too much free reign over the movie. That's the problem.
But he made it. Like he's objecting to his own questions. This is the problem. He said, okay, we're gonna chase him. Why? Because he can take it. He can do it. And then it turns out he couldn't. Because he immediately just stopped being Batman and hid away for, let me see, I was looking it up. The Dark Knight Rises is set 8 years after Harvey Dent was killed. What?
I remember it being like a ridiculously long time. Like he was Batman for a very short time.
Is that true?
Stopped being Batman for a ridiculously long time. Like Batman was just like a little blip in his life. And then yeah.
It says 8 years.
8 years he was not Batman.
Harvey Dent died.
It's a ridiculous timeline.
They chased him because he could take it, and he could not take it so he just became 8 years an invalid, and that's it.
Yeah. So where this could go right is in the Batman. He is Batman. And he's like, well, I got to pretend to be Bruce Wayne to get some more information because I'm obsessed with this case and being Batman and figuring this out, and I don't give a fuck. And Batman is who he really is. And in the Tim Burton movie, it starts out, the fucking first thing he says is, I'm not going to kill you. And then he says, I'm Batman. He's Batman. And he pretends to be Bruce Wayne, that's who Batman is. And in the Nolan movies,
again,
he really just wanted to fuck Rachel and then was Batman for a second, and then his knee hurt.
It was only Batman because of the...
I'm not afraid.
I don't know where it
He says, hold on.
Because he went to the...
He says you need to be afraid.
Because he went on a trip to find himself and accidentally wound up at ninja camp and then decided to do stuff with it. And then, like, when it got serious, he just stopped.
Right.
And kills Ra's al
after the 2 boats.
For all of what could have been, because every time one of the Nolan movies would end, we would sit and talk about what the next could be, and we're like, oh man. And again, like this is what set me on the path of wanting a Batman, like a true Batman, because it's like, okay, this is Batman Begins. I get it. So he's got the big clunky suit, but he's a ninja. So ninjas don't wear clunky suits. So maybe eventually he'll get down to just like the tights. Ninjas wear tights, sure. And so, and then it's like, okay, second movie, he downgraded his armor. He's more mobile. It's like, okay, we're going in the right direction. This could be what we're after. Maybe we're going to get to the point where he's going to be Batman. And then it's like, nope, okay, fine. And then we get Ben Affleck's Dark Grizzly. Yeah, I probably used to be the Batman you wanted, but I'm not anymore. I'm the gruff old Batman. I hate everybody. It's like, oh shit. Okay, well that was close, almost. And then we get this Batman, which in many ways has the aspects that I'm hoping for. I am very hopeful for a sequel to this movie.
Me too. But I'm nervous too.
Yeah.
What if they completely drop the ball? Because what Matt Reeves said was, I listened to 2 excellent podcasts about this. They were Dolby made them, and one is all about the sound design and the score, and one is all about the cinematography and how they shot it. And they're both excellent. And Matt Reeves was saying, well, this movie when you're doing the first one, you got to kind of design it to where if it was the only one, it can stand on its own. Like A New Hope, and the Tim Burton Batman, and like most movies.
Right. You maybe leave crumbs, but you're
but it has to be able to tell its own story in that one movie, just in case you don't fucking know what's gonna happen. So I'm always worried when it's like, well, then what really had a good plan for the rest of it? Because Halloween Kills proved that you can have a really great start to a series and then just abysmally fuck up that next one. All the same people involved.
Right.
So
100% agree.
Now my expectations are high, and they really got to bring it for this next movie.
Well, and that's true, because again, I went into this movie looking to hate it, like wanting to hate it, because I just didn't like anything about it. And our friend Matt and I actually got into like a fight almost over the fact that he was like, I think this is going to be the greatest Batman movie ever. He couldn't understand how I just didn't see that,
Yeah, I didn't understand how he saw that. And then I was but he was really excited about all the stuff that we were seeing, and I'm like, this does nothing for me. He looks like he's wearing a brown costume, and I don't get hung up on that stuff, but I'm like, there's just nothing that is getting me.
It looked like more of the same.
I didn't care that it was the Twilight guy, none of that, because I know he can act. He can act his ass off. None of that bothered me. I was just like, it just looks like whatever. And then Matt saw it opening night and had a really bad time because there were people there that he didn't know that were like ruining the experience for him. And he was like, I liked some of it, but I don't know how I feel about it. And then the next time he saw it was when I saw it the first time. He and I went and saw it. And he was like, oh no, like those people were really just making my experience that bad that it made me like the movie less. But he loves the movie. I loved the movie when I saw it. So
I should say it wasn't really
I didn't get into an argument with him about it, but I didn't see what he was seeing. I was like, I don't see how you're excited for this, but I'm glad that you are. I felt bad. I'm like, I'm so excited about this, and it's just gonna be like a fucking Zack Snyder movie.
Well, and then, so like I said, I went in with very low expectations like you. And I think that's why I liked it as much as I did. Because I do get hung up on, I'm a visual guy. Like everything I do and I enjoy is visual, And so when you get the visuals wrong to such a degree for me, that's a huge factor. And I don't think that I'm wrong in feeling that. It's just one of those things for me. If you're like, this is R2D2. It doesn't matter how well this acts. It doesn't look like R2D2. It looks like a stupid pop can to me. You know what I mean? I'm
like a trash can.
Right. He needs to look like a trash can. Duh. I want my characters to look, or at least resemble, be clever about it. I feel like there was zero effort into making the Riddler look like any version of the Riddler.
He had 4 question marks on him, Pat.
I think he had a greenish hue to his
exactly.
coat.
It was like a greenish brown.
There's a greenish brown hue to his coat.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm making is that it did nothing for me, and it made me. And like I said, and I don't think that the actor didn't act well. I just don't think he acted like the Riddler. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Yeah. Although hold on.
There's so many things.
You know how in this movie, like a lot of the clues rely on like things you would never really assume in real life would be clues. Like the murder weapon was a thing you used to pick up the carpet, whatever it was called, and like who really knows that? So like whenever that happened, it really truly reminded me of the '66 movie when they're trying to figure out who the villains are, and they're just like, it happened on the C for Catwoman. And it was Catwoman. It's like a normal person wouldn't guess that that's how you know it's Catwoman, but it totally was. Like that's how like every one of these things played out for me, and some people might think that's dumb, and I thought it was nostalgic.
I liked it.
I don't think it was intentional. But
I laughed at the thumb drive thing.
I knew it was going to be that joke. Like when they got to the car and he's like, I'm looking for a USB. And I'm like, oh, God, it's a thumb drive.
And then it's encrypted and
with the thumb.
Gordon's like, ah, shit.
As soon as I heard
the dead guy's thumb.
As soon as I heard the mail go out noise, I was like, did he plug that into his personal computer? That's a violation of IT policy. You can't be doing that. You can't put some sort of foreign USB in your work computer. My God, you're going to get a call from IT in the morning.
Yeah, it screwed him. I'm glad it screwed him over in the movie as a systems administrator.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm so glad you got fucked by plugging that into your computer.
Yep. He's going to be in the training material from now on.
Don't pull Gordon.
I loved all the acting. I thought it was well acted for the type of movie it was being. And the scene with Gordon and Batman in the lockup pen, where he's looking at him and he's like, gotta pretend like he's really grilling him, but he's like, take this key and you're gonna hit me and you're gonna get out. And then from a distance, you're like, oh, he's really giving him the business. That was funny to me, and I felt like it was supposed to be funny. You know,
it was good. That was a good scene.
And it was well needed, lighthearted.
I don't know why they took him to the police station.
It was wonderful.
Regardless, it was a good scene.
You got a lot of cats.
I also will say that while because earlier I stated I didn't like his costume. You know, like in an action figure form, like when you're just looking at the stark light of day. But I thought it worked fantastically in the movie. The costume was one of my favorite parts in the movie.
Yeah, when I just saw stills of the mask, I didn't like it, but in the movie, I'm like that works really well.
I'm gonna say,
and it brought me to
the suit was the thing I was looking forward to the most, because I actually, from like the first trailer and everything, I really liked the suit. After I found out that it wasn't actually his parents' killer's gun, then I really actually like the suit. I love that there's like the collar thing to protect his neck so that he doesn't have to have neck armor and he can move his head. You know,
the collar thing I like a lot. And the way you can see the stitching and everything, and the collar remind me a lot of Gotham by Gaslight Batman, which is an awesome.
You got the eye black story again.
Yeah, and I really, again, I liked that his eyes were all blacked out when he took off his mask. I always hate when they're like, let me reveal that I wasn't really wearing eye makeup. I don't know what that was.
His suit makes him literally indestructible in this movie. And I love it. He can take, like...
Based on that bomb...
Yes, he can take a bomb to the face. Even the unarmored parts are completely fine. He can bounce around on off the truck and the bridge and everything. He can take all sorts of just assault fire all over the place. Like, everything is bulletproof. This whole thing just makes him invincible. I love it.
See, I liked that sequence, even though he got up pretty easily. But I like a fallible hero.
Yeah.
You know, like I like an Indiana Jones where it's like, oh shit, that didn't work out the way I was hoping it was, but I'm gonna make it work. You know?
I did enjoy when he
did the thing. I was like, oh, he looks so cool.
Well,
and
I mean, even before he jumped, he looked like he wasn't quite sure this was gonna work.
Scared shitless.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I also like when he caught that shotgun blast at the end, and you know, there's only so much armor can take after repeated getting shot all the time. I felt like the combat and the shooting and all that, the gunplay, it was the best that there's ever been, and it was very visceral, and the sound of it was great. And when he's fighting on the stairs at the club and he whips that bat at the guy that's about to shoot him, oh God, I feel that.
I felt a lot of things in this movie.
The sound design was amazing. But the fighting was good. He doesn't do a lot of like high risk things that you wouldn't want to do in a fight where it's like a 1-on-5 scenario. He doesn't do like some spinning flying wheel kick or something, you know? That first scene where he comes out, and this is what was cool. You hear his footsteps and it's menacing. It's like the Terminator or RoboCop or something coming out of the shadows, or Jason or something. Like he is supposed to be that to these guys. And then he just beats the fuck out of them.
The whole opening scene
and it's so satisfying. Like when he beats the shit out of people in this movie, it's so viscerally satisfying.
Yeah, and he takes some hits too. Like everything looks real.
Right.
You know.
Right. Right. It's very. I think that they, and not to say that they wouldn't have come up with this on their own, but I do feel like ever since Daredevil, did that hallway scene.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
The good thing. Got it.
The show. Yeah, the show, not the movie. No, we don't talk about the movie.
Well, because we got a link.
We did talk about
one. We got 0 degrees of separation between those movies.
Daredevil, the show, does that hallway fight, and it is so brutal and so real. And you're like thinking to yourself, maybe I could do that, but probably not. But you know what I mean? Like it's realistic. The guys are coming at him not one at a time.
Right.
He's beating the shit out of him. He's winded. And it was the same kind of fighting stuff that happened in here. And it is very welcomed for these type of heroes. The guys who are actual humans fighting, they might have some superhuman ability somewhere like Daredevil, like your Batman, who is highly trained, yet still is gonna take hits. Like there's no way Batman's not gonna take a hit.
Yep.
At not at this point in his career.
This Batman is going to take hits and doesn't care. The first scene where he goes to I forget the Iceberg Lounge, and he says, "Do you know who I am?" And he beats the fuck out of Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And he's walking through the hallway. So like now they're on high alert. You fucked up the guards. You're just walking in here. You're this guy that everyone knows that is beating up all these criminals. He has this look on his face, and he like takes a breath, and he looks like I could die. I could probably die in here, like easily. Like he didn't look like, the bat plane will zoom in and suck me up to safety. He looked like, okay, we're in here now. I'm in here, like shit is gonna get real, and I could die, but I don't give a fuck. I gotta go in here.
This is not the Batman who has an escape route or who's thinking like 3 steps ahead of everything. This is a Batman who's basically on a long suicide. Essentially, like he doesn't really care if he lives or dies. He's just going to do what he can until someone eventually takes him out.
Right, and he knows it, and you can feel that in all of his actions. Batman was the best part of this Batman movie, which is great. It's
finally,
yes.
It was very refreshing to be excited about Batman in a Batman movie.
Guys, I have an idea. It's a Batman movie, but he's in the whole movie. And we just follow him around the whole time.
Fancy. I like it. You know what else I didn't fully understand, and this is, probably my own idiocy, but I didn't get that Falcone and Falcone are the same character with just a mispronounced name.
Yes, that bothered me the first like 4 or 5 times they said Falcone. I'm like, isn't it Falcone? But I'm like, but they had that other character that we heard about. Was it Marconi or?
Yeah, Marconi.
Right.
So I'm like, they probably early drafts. It probably was Falcone, and they're like, well, can we make him Marcone? Is that even a real Italian name? Let's just make it Falcone, and when we say it the 5th time, people will just get it that's how we're saying it, and then we can keep Marcone. I was
definitely thinking they were completely different, but no, they're the same. But apparently, Falcone is the right way of saying it. Like the entire Nolan trilogy had said it wrong.
That makes sense. So, I also don't know how to say Paul Dano's last name.
I always said Dano, but I don't think that's right.
I always said Dano, but then I've heard like 5 people say Dano. I'm like, is it Dano? Can it be Dano? That can't be right. But maybe not. Turns out Michael Bihn's name this whole time was Michael Biehn. Biehn.
Pronounce.
Really?
Yeah, Kyle Reese. No idea. And he's in The Mandalorian. He's in a lot of shit. Tombstone. Yeah. Michael Biehn.
Oh no.
I'm like, it can't be Bean. That's too easy. He's an actor. It's got to be like BN.
All right.
He was probably happy to be Michael Biehn.
Dano.
What do you got?
How to pronounce.com says Dano,
Dano.
Someone on YouTube says Dano. Everyone just says Dano.
Okay, Dano.
I was gonna say
so
I went with Dano, but I think that was how I heard it. But you know, who I forget, there was some or you know, Denzel Washington's name is not Denzel, it's Denzel. But he's like, everybody calls me Denzel, so I went with it because his dad's name, he's like a junior or something. And his dad's name is Denzel, and so they couldn't both be called Denzel because they both would get, you know, come when the wrong was called. So his mom started calling him Denzel. And
so we didn't do it. His family did.
No, we didn't do it. But he was like, yep, it was just a family. Family decided to mispronounce my name, and so now everyone does. So I thought that was interesting.
So Dano, I'll go with that. Dano. I just thought, you know,
book him, Dano.
Drano, take out the R. Dano.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. Got it.
Drainage.
So, did you think that the stuff Batman used at the end, you think that could be Venom?
Symbiote.
That's what it looked like to me.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So
it was either
thinking Bane.
It was either that or it was Ecto Cooler.
It'll probably be Bane and Poison Ivy because they don't use any original.
Because it definitely jazzed him up, got him all hyped and strong and healthy again. But just a little bit, he shot into himself. But I'm like, why make it green? Why would it be green if you're not trying to send me that?
It's it's just green because we had not seen a single thing that was green in this movie except for the Riddler, and they had to put some other color in. Everything other than the Riddler is
it's like an old
orange.
Nintendo game. They had to do they had to palette swap the whole thing. Well, if we want green, then the pink thing has to go because we can't fit that color in anymore.
I feel like if that is a reference to Bane or somehow like the origin of Bane or something like that, I feel like that is a very, very subtle reference, a very subtle way to do it. And the majority of the audience, you know, like if we go into the next movie and they're like, oh yeah, that thing that Batman shot himself with the leg to go crazy for 10 seconds. It turns out you can make a whole, a whole super luchador out of that.
Well, yeah, like what if I just keep pumping that shit into me constantly on a drip?
Yeah,
that's what's gonna happen, man.
You guys are more the Batman aficionados than me. What is Bane's actual, like, legit origin story with the green shit? Was he like a regular Joe?
Because I know a little bit. He was in prison.
Are we talking the comic book origin? I don't
Yeah, just like
I don't even remember.
Okay, what about the cartoon?
The bits that I remember, he was an inmate, and it was like one of those things where like, you want to sign up for this experiment and off your sentence, whatever, and they just shot him full of the shit. He got really strong, so strong he was like, I'm taking this, and takes it and goes off and becomes a supervillain.
Okay, so that could be the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He is a very smart character, which is not how he was portrayed at all, of course, in the live action films.
No, he was like a Double Dragon video game character in that.
Right.
So he wasn't like a mad scientist that is shit on his own or anything.
Not to my knowledge.
No, I don't think there's any continuity where he invented the Venom.
I got a box. I got a magic box here. I can look it up.
Okay. So it's not like a stretch. It's not like in the Sam Raimi movies, like, how are we going to get Venom out of here? Like, he's got a pretty intricate origin story. Like, Bane is doable in this universe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If we have the green shit and we have an inmate, we can get to Bane.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, Bane.
We don't need a Secret Wars to happen.
No,
in a meteorite or
no. Bane is like, he's a typical science villain. Like, if we have the chemical that makes the Venom, like if we have the Venom, we have Bane. You know, there's nothing else to it.
Right. Which is,
I think Warner Brothers would not want to do Bane though. They would go like, look, Dark Knight Rises was a disaster. We're not doing Bane.
Batman and Robin.
And even Matt Reeves would be like, look, we made this movie. It was great. Trust me, it'll be different and people will like it. I think they'd still be like, no, just give us like a Joker.
I think a lot of
Give us some
A
more.
lot of people forget that he was fairly faithfully represented in Batman and Robin, and not. Well, I mean, other than he was a dumb brute.
Or not his personality, but he looked
like visually.
He looked like him
in the things that Pac.
Yeah, and like power wise and stuff.
Yeah, but it didn't. He did not. Yeah, he didn't do anything to save that movie.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't. I like Tom Hardy, but I didn't
Tom Hardy's a cool guy.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to make him act with just a mask.
We spent like a good 8 years doing an impression of that guy on the old podcast, and I don't even remember how to do it anymore.
By we, I mean Brian.
I think I just talked like this whenever I was recording.
Pretty much.
That's all you got to do. Yeah. I think I used to use a cup. I'd use my cup of water and just talk into the cup. I will say, I was born in it. The scene where Batman has to fight Bane in Dark Knight Rises, and Bane's gonna win. All his henchmen look like they feel bad for Batman. We know Bane's gonna win. I think Batman knows Bane's gonna win. There's something about that I love. Whereas like I'm Batman, goddammit. But it's like you don't even know. You don't even think you're gonna win, though, do you?
Well, he's so.
It's like when Mike Tyson was like 20 years old and became the youngest heavyweight champ ever, and then he would have to fight other people, and they would get interviewed like, "No, I'm gonna beat him. Here's what's gonna happen," and you're like, "You're lying. You know, you're just fucking gonna get murked in there." And so that one scene I loved, and Bane's whole soliloquy, his monologue, I guess, where he's just breaking down as he's beating Batman, telling him how has no chance and you're not going to beat me. I think they just roll credits.
That could have been the end of the movie.
Well, it's funny because now at this point we know that he was really right. Batman was just a poser. He wasn't even a cool Batman. No,
he wasn't. You're not even a detective. You ain't figured shit out, have you?
He shot the bullets at the walls.
And then he beats him at the end. The comeback is so unearned.
Right.
He's like, he's got that thing on his face. I'll punch it. You didn't fucking just intuit that the first time?
That movie has so many logical inconsistencies to it that it's hard for me to even get to the point of like, well, he hasn't even earned that, because I'm still trying to figure out like, how many cops do you think Gotham employs? Like 80,000 or something like that, and they can't figure out how to get out of the sewers, and they're in there for like 6 months somehow.
They get them all in there, like Superman 3, like all the tankers. Yeah. We got them all together, it's like all in the sewers, except this one little tanker. His name's Robin.
Get all the cops into the sewers, every last one into the sewers. There's so much that doesn't make sense going in there. Like I haven't even gotten to the Batman's motivation on anything.
I think they could do Bane well in this.
They could. They definitely could.
Yeah.
But that scene, that one particular scene in that one particular movie would be hard to top as far as the impact of that scene.
That is the high point of the movie, because then he's in the hole.
They would do it better.
The hole is like on the other side of the world somehow, but he climbs out of it and comes back to America somehow.
He just walks out of it.
I don't know.
The child was scared and climbed out. Phosphoro. They're doing Skyrim chants and shit to get him out of the hole. And fucking so he could do his dragon powers. I don't know what's happening, guys. But I'll tell you what. I loved the Batman, and the Batmobile was the meanest, like grittiest, it was not stealthy. Just
for sure.
Bad, just mean. It was just such a bad car. Like I felt like it had for the first time. It had personality.
It had its own.
It was
sound.
Like Christine.
I loved it.
It was like Christine and Knight Rider. It was like Kit. It didn't talk, but it I felt like it wanted to. It didn't talk, but it just screamed. And it was terrifying for the villain.
Yeah.
But also like that movie is so fucking loud when you see it at the theater that I saw it at, and then the Batmobile, you can feel it in your seat when it's like kicking in.
It was
And
it was probably pretty terrifying for all the other people who died on that highway too.
Yeah.
But
it's just he's still shifting gears and shit. It's got some gadgets and whatnot, but it's not
the thing is,
invincible.
What was cool about the Tumbler was that you could tell it was an actual vehicle that someone was driving, and it wasn't like the Burton era where it's like this is a prop and you're pretty sure someone's pushing or pulling it down the street. It's not a car that drives on its own, you know.
Right.
But like the Tumbler really was a vehicle that was driving around, and you could tell. And this car, exactly the same. You could tell this was an actual vehicle that he is going to get into. It's not CGI. This is a car, and it wasn't so ridiculously souped up that to make it unrealistic. Like that, it looked like Bruce Wayne could have done this in his garage over the course of a couple of months, you know, and made this supercar.
The build up to it, you know, you see the engine parts, but he's not like, well, you say you got to put the crankshaft in because that's how. See, the crankshaft is the piece that'll turn the pistons, and then the pistons are not the Detroit Pistons. That was a basketball team that won back-to-back championships, and there was no explanation about it. You just saw the parts.
You can put your own story to it, and it makes sense. Like you don't need all that backstory.
Then you saw a tarp, and then you're kind of thinking like, I'm guessing there's a Batmobile. It looks like he's in the middle of making it right now. And then when it shows up, man, it fucking shows up.
It does. It does. When the car like leaps through the fire, like when Penguin thinks he's got away and the car comes through, like, you know, it's coming, but it's still amazing. It's an amazing shot. There's a lot of really good cinematography in this, like when Batman's upside down walking to Penguin. I love that shot.
Oh yeah. And the fucking shot of him in the car.
Yeah. He should probably be dead. And he wasn't even the guy they were looking for. Batman killed probably like 30 people, and he wasn't even the guy.
Yeah, so it's a bottle rocket sound that they like looped over and over again and stacked on top of it for the jet engine noise. And then the actual regular engine is like two Ford engines from the 70s. Like a 390 and something else, and they like put them both together, and I love that. It was
a really unique sound.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Pat, you didn't like it?
I just think it fit the movie very well. It fit the movie very well.
That good or bad?
It's far and away not my favorite Batmobile. I'm not a car guy though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I like the ridiculousness of the '89 Batmobile. That's
I love the '89 Batmobile.
It'll never. That will, well, I won't say never, but right now that is always going to be tops in my book. That style.
Yeah.
I liked that they gave the fins on the back. Like, I mean, it was a fine car. It just didn't do anything for me because it didn't have enough goofy shit on it.
That maybe, but it did seem
it was too real for me. So I understand why people like it a lot.
It kind of seemed like it was like calling back to calling back to the old days when he would just drive a car that had like a Bat logo on the front, or like, you know, the 66 car, which was just kind of looked like a car with a couple of extra flares on it. So
you know, I thought it was cool. I loved it. Like you said, the sound was very unique, very scary, you know, very cool. For stuff like this, you know, I think of this like I think of like a pop, you know, those Funko Pops. If in 10 years I found one at a yard sale and I'd have to look at it real hard to be like, what the fuck is this? Then I don't care. You know, like for me, again, because I'm not a car guy, it just looks like a regular car with some fins on the back of it. So it doesn't have enough of the goofy Batmobile aspect for me visually.
Right.
I don't want to put down the car because I know you guys really love it.
No, yeah, I do love it, but I get what you're saying, and I love it because of its context in the movie. But if I was at like a toy show, it wouldn't even stand out compared to the '89 Batmobile.
Right.
You know, like,
and that's what I mean. Like, I love that kind of.
I don't like the '95
really
penis
iconic...
mobile.
Yeah, that's different.
That was the ambiguously gay duo car.
Yes, it was.
The animated series Batmobile is like 3 car lengths long, so
It's very long.
And I love it though. It's ridiculous, but I love it. I was just thinking about that. I was like, I love that car, but it's super impractical.
Yeah.
It is very, very long.
Yeah.
And like to me, the Tumbler fit that universe too.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't think it was nearly as cool as either of these other two Batmobiles.
I agree. I think this one is way cooler than the Tumbler.
Yeah.
I think the Tumbler just because again, like everything in the Batman Nolan verse, I was like, okay, this could be good one day. Like if we kept building on
we just got to stick the landing.
Eventually, it's going to be good. And then it was like, oh, third movie, nope, not good at all. Batman's dead.
And he really had no connection to it. Like Fox just like invented it. Yeah. Like all his cool shit, Fox was just like, here, take it. When I was a boy growing up in Georgia, I'd look at the stars and I would think if I could only make things for Batman one day, so he could go spelunking. And in this movie, like, well, what the fuck do you think? What would the Batmobile look like if Bruce Wayne just had to put it together in his spare time?
Right.
It would look like a '69 Dodge Charger with a jet engine in the back.
Right, and it looked awesome.
And like his motorcycle was just a motorcycle until the end where it had like a bat on the front.
Mm-hmm. Which is like I said, this is year 2.
Yeah.
You know, if he's tinkering and now he's again, I don't think this universe needs the Batmobile I want it to have. You understand what I mean?
Right,
I and with Batman's one of those characters which is rare that I can be okay with versions like this happening that don't meet all of my expectations, because within 5-10 years tops, it's going to be rebooted, it's going to be reset, it's going to be a new version.
There will always be a new Batman movie.
So right, it's less cool for me to have to carry around the burden of a Green Lantern movie that sucks, because I know that shit like once in a lifetime.
The 1990 Flash show, man. I
still love that show.
I know, but I'm like, that's all that. No one else watched it. Never got a season 2.
It was you and me, buddy.
So I think the reason I don't have a problem with the Batmobile is I'm used to it looking different a lot. Like you had, like it's changed a lot over the years.
Oh yeah, there's tons of versions of it.
But his costume,
it was, and I should say, it was definitely not a sticking point for me. Like there was no point in this movie where I was like, that's the Batmobile. Like I was like, okay, Batmobile, sure.
The costume is, I loved the costume in Batman versus Superman.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I got so used to film Batman means all black that it was weird. You know what I mean? I thought it looked awesome, but and then I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. I remember being a kid and being weirded out by the all black costume.
Yeah. Every Batman movie.
Because I grew up with Adam West in the comic books and stuff. Yeah. It was always blue and gray when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's all black. I'm like, that doesn't even sound cool. And then I'm sitting in the theater. I'm in River Oaks 9, opening night. In that first scene, I'm like, it's black. I didn't even notice. I don't know. This is so cool.
Right.
Like, I didn't even give a fuck.
This is the best.
But then it makes sense.
Again,
You're like, this makes sense that it's black. Like, you're not supposed to see him.
It makes total sense. Right. It makes total sense that it's all black.
But that was all Tim Burton, right? It was never black.
No, that was all Burton.
All black like that in the comics at any point.
Right. No.
Okay.
Because they wanted to get away from Adam West. Like, by today's standards, we would all have been furious as well until we saw the movie.
Right.
We would have been like, what is this bullshit? Michael Keaton, a fucking comedian?
Mm-hmm.
Which I was just watching an old clip from news around that time, and everybody was like, Michael Keaton? Goddamn Michael Keaton. You can't put that fucker in there. He ain't a Batman. He's like Mr. Mom.
That's how I felt as a child. Here's what I knew of Michael Keaton: Beetlejuice, Mr. Mom, and Johnny Dangerously, and that's it. And I'm like, gonna be Mr. Mom, gonna be Batman. I'm not sure about this, but can we please go see it opening night, because I have to see it. So right then, as a little kid is when I got used to, like, why don't you reserve judgment until, you know, like Robert Pattinson, Christian Bale, actually, like, of all of the casting, like Ben Affleck, that one is actually makes total sense.
I was on board with that casting.
Like, I could totally see him being Batman, look wise.
Right.
You know, and then all the other ones, I'm like, I guess. Like, Christian Bale, I loved American Psycho, but before Batman, were you ever like, you know who should play Batman? Christian Bale.
Never.
Oh. No. Nope.
And it turns out maybe he shouldn't have anyway.
Sure. Right. But, you know, you got to wait because Mr. Mom did a fine job.
Yes.
He did. And as did Heath Ledger's Joker. Like, that was the one that always rings in my head. Anytime anybody is like, what? You can't do that. I was like, fuck you. Heath Ledger was never supposed to be a good Joker. There was never supposed to be a world where he could do that. And then it was just like, oh my God.
The Australian guy from 10 Things I Hate About You is going to be the Joker?
Yeah.
Yeah. Daddy, can you change our stars? Well, you could change your stars, but you need to take a trip to the Underground Railroad. The Lamborghini, then.
Lamborghini. But yeah, see, for me here, and this kind of ties into this, I will never forget the first trailer for the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. See, that trailer set up every other movie to fail. Because when I watched that trailer, I will never forget watching that trailer and seeing the turtles' shells pop out of the water and just being like, they're real. They're real. This is a real movie about the real Ninja Turtles. And that feeling is what I've been chasing with movies ever since. And every so often I get it. And most often I don't, because it's very difficult to be like, hey, we've met all your expectations and probably blown your little fucking, kindergarten mind. Here you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a great point. And seeing Shredder in the trailer when he's walking, they have the shot in the trailer where he's like walking in the big silhouette of him, and you hear his voice, and I'm like, holy shit. I didn't think this was possible. And then you're like, how is it going to hold up? It's going to really hold up.
It really does.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Even
when if you overanalyze it, you're like, they don't have lips. Like, they're not. How can they make sounds? But you're like, wait a minute, they're giant anthropomorphic turtles. So you gotta.
I don't know if you
gotta get past
the lips. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a sequence where Donnie laughs, and you can see the human mouth, his turtle mouth. It's there it's there and it's gone. But once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Well, that's that Golden Harvest production value.
But also, did you guys know that was at least at the time, and I think it took a really long time to get dethroned, that was the most profitable independent film ever made?
I didn't know that.
Because no studio wanted to take a chance on the Turtles, and so they did it themselves. And they got Henson involved. Jim Henson made those suits, and the rest is history. The
Golden Harvest.
And I mean, that was after
movies. They made a bunch of 80s like ninja movies and shit, and then somehow did Ninja Turtles.
Because nobody else wanted to, and everybody regretted it instantly afterwards.
Yeah.
So
the cartoon was huge. I don't know why you wouldn't. I guess at the time, taking like a children's cartoon and making a gritty adult movie out of it was not a thing that was done.
Well, and I thought that was really interesting too. Like, apparently Jim Henson did not care for it because it was too violent. He was like, oh, I was unaware I was making Ninja Turtle suits that were going to use their weapons.
That were going to be ninjas.
I wondered why they had those holders on there.
Yeah, it did a fine job though. What a fucking what a cool movie. And those expectations are high. Will we get that again?
Worse and worse.
What do we have left to see like that? And now it's so easy to do everything digitally, Because back then it was like, wait a minute. I remember being a kid and like thinking, how are you going to make them look real? There's no way you're going to be able to do that. And I was watching like a little vignette on TV before the movie came out, and it showed like the fucking, because I remember like nobody knew the trailer. I think like the teaser trailer was out, and I'm like, there's got to be like a guy's arm in the suit, in the puppet head, moving it, and then so the one arm is a robotic arm, and the guy and they're like, no, it's a helmet with like motors and shit in it. And I was like, we're done. And then how does it just work through the air? Yeah.
I was literally having a conversation with my daughter yesterday. She was asking me, I don't have any idea how we got on this topic, but she was asking me to explain the origin of Master Splinter in every continuity. Okay. Sometimes we get on weird topics.
Cool.
And so I was talking about how, in the movie continuity, he was a rat first who had an owner named Hamato Yoshi, and then the rat mutated into a human-like rat. And she's like, how did they do that in the movie? And I'm like, well, they couldn't do it with computers like they can do now, so they had to do it with like a puppet, kind of a puppet, but there was a guy in it and everything. And she's like, I don't know, I don't know if that would work. You're gonna have to show me that.
Actually, Master Splinter was always a puppet.
Was there was no guy in him at all?
I think there might have been an exception or two, but 90% of the time he was a puppet because he was so frail.
I knew
his arms and legs were like twig-like. So whenever he was seated,
they had
Kevin
like
Clash.
He was a he was a head. Okay.
Back behind doing the
I mean,
and they still had the the animatronics in the head and everything.
Because you never see him walking around or anything. He's like Yoda.
The closest you get is when like they put him on their shoulders and help him like off the wall.
Right.
So I do think that he was always just a puppet. But then
family
the turtles. The turtles took three people.
Mm-hmm.
Every turtle had 3 people except for Raph.
A little too Raph.
One of them, like one of the stunt guys, I want to say it was for Raph, but maybe it was in 2. One of the stunt guys who was in the suit fought for also being the voice, and they let him. But I think it might have been in 2.
Ernie Reyes Jr., who was Kino, was martial arts Donatello in part 1.
Right.
But I think you're right in part 2.
Was the voice.
There's because there's the puppeteer, and I think the puppeteer is doing the voice on set because they have to
match it up to the
right.
So there's a puppeteer, and they're doing a voice that then gets dubbed over in post by the voice actor.
And in some cases, I think it may have been the same person, but like obviously Corey Feldman wasn't operating a puppet.
Right.
Corey Feldman came in later and matched the voice.
And like, nor was he ever in the suit either.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then they had like dramatic actor scenes, and then the martial arts scenes.
Right.
It was a different person. Yeah. And then the mask wouldn't move. They would just be like, like grimacing.
Right.
Like, no, we're not putting $1 million mask on you for this stunt scene.
So we can dunk you into a fish tank.
We'll give you the permanent scowly face because you're fighting. How did we get on Ninja Turtles? I don't know.
Sorry, that was my bad.
This is why Ninja Turtles translated so well into a tokusatsu show in the 90s. It's because that was the exact same techniques.
But again, back to Batman. My original point was that the Turtles movie was the benchmark for me, and still really is, where I see exactly what I wanted to see on screen.
Mm-hmm.
It was a real version of my characters. It wasn't a literal transition. It wasn't just like taking the cartoon and making it real. It made the transition to where I was like, the cartoon is obviously based on these real living creatures. And so there's always that kind of running in the back of my head. Every time I see a new trailer for something that's brand new that I like, I'm always like, oh man, is this going to be a Turtles or is it going to be a Masters of the Universe? Because that's the polar opposite.
Yeah.
That's where, it's going to fall somewhere between those two. And so with Batman, he's so iconic, and he's got so many different versions of himself, of the character in the source material, even, that there's a lot of, forgiveness / artistic liberty given to these. And so when something doesn't line up for me, like I said, like I didn't care for the Riddler's. I didn't care for that character being called the Riddler. Is where it really falls for me.
Good character.
Because I don't think that the Riddler.
Here's something you need to know, because you brought up Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
Did you know Canon Films they were the studio that produced Masters of the Universe. Came out in 1987. They also were the film studio that produced Superman 4, which also came out in 1987, and then they stopped making movies after that.
Yeah. Did you know, in fact, they stopped making movies before they finished filming Masters of the Universe, and that's why the last fight scene is in the dark, because they had to convince Frank Langella and Dolph Lundgren to work for free
in a garage
to finish the movie, like, in the dark. And that's why that end battle is just them, like, clashing swords and shit in the dark, because they were like, guys, we can't keep going for funding. We don't know. The company, I think, went under.
Yeah, like, no, they're not answering their calls.
As Masters of the Universe was coming to an end. And interestingly enough, the Castle Grayskull interior is, I still believe to date, the largest set ever built. So there was no reason for that.
Yeah, they lost like $2 million of the Superman 4 budget for people getting hurt doing stunts that sued, like, before the movie was done shooting.
Right.
I mean, what a year to be Canon Pictures. Masters, like, I don't know which one came out first, but then you're like, we got this other one coming out. Maybe this one will save us.
Maybe this one will save us. It's going to save a company, man. Come on.
So let's hope Warner Brothers doesn't go anywhere.
I think Warner Brothers will probably be fine.
Maybe Disney will buy it.
I'll be honest with you, I keep hoping that something like that would happen, because I hate AT&T, Time Warner, AOL, whatever conglomerate is being called these days. I hate that they own DC, because they don't just own the rights to DC's movies. They own DC in its entirety, and they don't even like comic books. Like, they actively don't like that DC is making comic books. If they could completely work their will, I think they would dissolve DC as a company and just have a company called Superman and Batman. And that's it. And they would just make Superman and Batman shows and movies and stuff that just constantly print money for them. Because it doesn't matter how bad they are, they just keep coming.
They also did not like professional wrestling. So when that merger happened in 1999, that was the beginning of the end of WCW. Because Ted Turner loved wrestling, and he was like, I'm going to have a wrestling company. And then that merger happened, and these people were like, we don't care what the ratings are. We don't fucking want wrestling on our networks. Oh, good old AOL, Time Warner, whatever it is. Do we get? So let's I want to transition out of the Batman into my Batman.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you think we're going to get in this Flash movie?
So I don't know. I don't know. I am so excited for Michael Keaton Batman Resurrection. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm a little sad. I don't know if you saw the pictures of his costume. The leak. His belt is apparently no longer gold, making him even black.
Does he have a belt, or is it just?
He does have a belt. There? It's just black. It's all black now. It's a little sleeker. It doesn't look as comic booky, more comic book movie.
Well, it's been 30 years.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I just miss the gold, the dark gold of his belt. But anyway, I think that we are gonna get some cool, weird shit. I've heard rumors that they're gonna CGI in Chris Reeve.
Ooh.
Please don't do that.
I agree.
You know, they bought the rights to Stan Lee
On top of
face
everything
for like
else,
20 years.
I heard that. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel better about that though. No,
Marvel did.
Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Marvel bought
his
like,
he's gonna put Stanley in all their movies.
This is a DC film.
The only thing we were missing the whole time, guys. That's the one thing in all those movies.
Have you seen the Teen Titans Go to the Movies, the cartoon movie? Because there's a Stan Lee cameo in the Teen Titans movie, and it's awesome.
It's awesome. It is Stan Lee.
It was before he died.
He's just like, I love cameos, and they're like, Stan, this is a DC film. He's like, oh no, and he runs away, but then he comes back later, and he's just like, I don't care. I love cameos.
That is great. I have a theory. So we know we're going to get Michael Keaton's Batman. We know that Alfred has to be long gone at this point. I think he died in like 98, 99, something like that.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like now I have no reason to believe this because of their track record, but I feel like if they are smart at all, they'll do it like Spider-Man, where it's like, yeah, what you show us, what we already know about, you're going to give us more than that in a movie like this. Here's what I thought about, and I've said this when we were still doing Slasherville. I think we did like one last episode. I brought this up, and then I've told friends about it. What if the Flash goes looking for Superman and gets to this world where Terrence Stamp's General Zod rules the planet? He goes back looking for Superman, and he gets there, and Superman? Oh no, he's been dead for years. Like, I killed him a long time ago, and this is Zod. This is Planet Zod. He's still alive. He was just in a movie that just came out. I think if you don't get somebody from the Superman verse, you're wasting a huge opportunity.
No, I definitely.
He'd be a great one to get.
Going to happen.
Like, he's iconic. He's alive. Those are important things.
Like, less important.
Superman, can't get him. Lois Lane, not going to happen. Perry White, nope. Jimmy Olsen, yeah, but yeah. I mean, he was in Supergirl. He'd be in this.
Have you followed any of the CW shows?
No. But I've heard
haven't for a long time. But there was a big crossover event. Did you hear about that one?
Yes.
They crossed over all the universes, and
Brandon Routh, we'll Superman.
Brandon Routh turned out to be Kingdom Come Superman. So in his universe, Joker killed Lois, or Joker maybe not. I can't remember. Maybe Lex killed Lois. I don't remember. But he was in a bad shape. But it was awesome. It was really cool to see him be Superman again, because he really fucked it up the first time. But they
look what I have to work with.
They had two good sequences where, like, for just a blip, you see Burt Ward walking Ace the Bat Hound, and then he just like looks up, because what was happening is like all the universes were collapsing in and dying, and so you just see the 66 universe just die, apparently, because he's just like looks up at the sky and he's like, holy something, I can't remember what he said, but then it implodes. And then it was like the 89 Batman universe just had the reporter from the first one. What was his name?
The guy who played Arliss on the show.
Was it?
Well, Arliss, he was on a show called Arliss where he played like a sports agent guy. Not the guy who plays Knox.
What is his? Knox, yes, get Knox a grant. So he's just like sitting on a park bench reading a paper. I can't remember if it was what they were gonna do or what was in the show. I want to say like the paper said something to the effect of like billionaire Bruce Wayne to wed Selena Kyle, and then like their universe ends.
Yeah.
So that was. I think that there's going to be some foothold.
Yeah.
In that, because actually, interestingly enough, at the end of that episode, Ezra Miller shows up.
Right.
And
which definitively ties all of that together.
Right. So, in this, what we know for sure is that Barry is going through time, universes. We don't know why per se. And we know that he wants to stay in the Keaton verse because his mom is still alive there. And that's pretty much all we know. But we also know that Ben Affleck is in the movie.
Yep.
So there's definitely going to be both of those Batman around.
I've heard rumors that Henry Cavill's in it.
I've heard rumors again. Henry Cavill wants to be. I know he wants to still be Superman.
I've heard rumors that Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot are also in it, but who knows?
Right. I mean, the thing is that it will likely just start in his home timeline, and he'll just be like, "Hey, everybody! Hey, all friends that I know here. Cool, glad to see you. Gotta go." So Cyborg will probably be there too if he's still. I don't know if Warner Brothers still thinks he exists.
That was a rough movie.
But I honestly think that's roughly all we know. So my guess is I would even go as far as saying that I think that they're going to include. I would say it would not shock me if they included CW Flash in the movie, if not for just a blip.
I think you get him in there for a sequence. Get him in there for like a fight sequence, because I think people would respond to it. Like people would think it's cool, that the Flash from the show, because that Flash show has been carrying on for a while.
Yeah,
it was like the only good thing they had going for a minute there. Maybe throw in. Man, if I could get 1990 Flash in a movie, I'll tell you what, nothing's impossible. Because when I was sitting there right before the trailers started, and it's doing the like, hey, how many kernels are in a corn of popcorn or whatever, the quiz shit, Teddy leans over and he goes, I read on the internet Daredevil's in this. I'm like, no, he's not though. And here's why. Here's 5 reasons why he's not in this. And then we're sitting there watching it, and he's like, well, I think you got a really strong case. And I turned and I was shaking Teddy in the seat in the theater. Like I wanted to jump up out of my seat. And so I'm like, anything's possible now.
Anything is possible.
It's all on the table, especially when they established in the show anything's possible. So I think you need I think that would be a big get. And I think as long as it was like you were obvious that he was General Zod in the first scene with him, that there'd be older fans like us that would appreciate it.
Right. I mean, like you said, there almost has to be something alluding to, and like I said, I heard rumors that they're trying to resurrect Christopher Reeve Superman and do like a CGI thing. I hope they don't. I would be happier with like a Muppet Babies style door opening, and there's just a clip of the old movie running, and they're just like, oh, there's a universe. Close that door.
Yeah. Yeah, or like alternate footage.
They open the door and then just seeing Superman running around the earth. They're like, oh, we don't want that one.
Yeah, it's like maybe a scene that didn't get used, or like recomposite an actual shot with something else. But don't just CG him, because here's the thing, like, who's gonna do his voice?
Right.
Like we saw Grand Moff Tarkin in fucking Leia, and it's like
they're not there. They're not there. The uncanny valley, as it were, right? That's what they say.
Mm-hmm.
But I did think
they're not there yet.
Luke looked better than they did.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely making progress quickly.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: the deep fakes are even better. You know, I mean, that crazy son of a bitch that's running around on TikTok looking like Tom Cruise all the time, like that is like flawless. It really, like the first couple of times I saw him, I was like, holy shit, that is really Tom Cruise? And I'm like, no, it's not Tom Cruise. That weirds me out even more than if that was really Tom Cruise.
I think it would just make me sad if they CG'd him in there, especially since they're doing Michael Keaton as if he were as old as he is now in that universe.
Mm-hmm.
I would, if they went back to the Richard Donner universe, I think it could be a powerful scene if Superman's dead in that universe.
Sure. But then you have to live with the knowledge that your Superman is dead in that universe. I don't like that shit.
No, but he is.
You know what I mean? But what I mean is though is like I would rather believe, you know, I don't like superheroes being gone, being dead. Like I think that if they're because again, what you're saying is have the Richard Donner universe be taken over by Zod.
Yeah, because he's still alive. You know, like he's from that universe, and he's like an iconic character who isn't Gene Hackman.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think they're going to get Gene out of retirement. I saw a picture of him not too long ago. He's looking every bit of the 93 that he is. But yeah, I don't know if you put Terrence Stamp in and say like, yep, I actually broke his neck, you know, like that.
Right.
That would be poetic. But I wouldn't personally care for it. Like I see where you're coming from. I like the notion of it because again, I don't want to see, you know,
like he would think he's not even in the right universe. Like it would be like this horrendous living conditions and these giant monuments to Zod. Like, oh shit, I ran to the wrong one. I'm looking for Superman. He's very charming, good looking. He's got a very brightly colored costume. Like, no, you're in the right spot. See, I fell in a hole that we don't know where it went, so I didn't really die. You know, like in Superman 2, they all just fall into a hole. Like, where does that go? I don't know.
Right. No one.
The way I have to retcon it is like that somehow puts them back in the Phantom Zone or some. It goes somewhere.
Right. That's
I don't just fall in the ice water and die.
I always assumed that the Phantom Zone portal was just open at the bottom of the pit and just
something like that.
That's
it. And Zod, like that is that timeline, or it could be an alternate timeline where Zod won that fight, where Superman didn't get his powers back and he just died of old age. Fucking Lois.
That's the power of the multiverse.
Right, and I mean that's fine. Like I said, I don't love alluding to the idea that the Christopher Reeve Superman is dead. I like to believe that his that version of Superman is still saving the day. Lois is getting old. He's not. he's probably looking into being Clark Jr. at this point. But whatever, you know what I mean? Like that kind of a scenario.
Right, yeah, because he's not old.
Right. It takes him a long time to age. That I mean, see, that's the interesting. I think there are a lot of interesting stories about Superman to be told after his lifetime. You know, like presumably he will not continue aging, or at least not age much for a long time. Like that's been the presumption. And so,
but how cool would it be to see Henry Cavill fight Terrence Stamp's Zod? That would be fucking cool.
Yeah.
I think that would be very, very cool.
Hurry up.
Well, see, okay, so how about this then? Instead, like Flash gets to this other universe and the Phantom Zone is floating around with old Terrence Stamp in it, and he's just like, "Whoa, let me out!" And Flash is like, "Yeah, I can figure this out. I'll just do this real fast," and he pops him out. And that's that's how we get the tie. We don't have to kill Superman to get Zod.
I want a universe where Zod won.
You're sick. You're sick.
I mean, it's out there.
Well,
it exists.
It's the multiverse.
He is but one, whereas they are three.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true. Aren't Ursa? At least Ursa's still around, isn't she?
Let's find
a picture of her at a convention recently. I don't know about Non though.
Person. Fictional character. Flim. In Flim, Sarah Douglas. She doesn't even have a fucking Wikipedia? No, that can't be right.
Not looking good then.
I know that as recently. Well, no, this lady died in 1773. That can't be her.
No.
That's probably not her.
Well, I can't. She doesn't have a wiki page, so I don't know. Because if you're not on Wikipedia, you're dead to me anyway.
All right. Well, hey, listen. We're approaching the end of the stream here, so give me your final thoughts on. I don't care what. Just pick a thing and give me your final thoughts on it. Because we've been all over the place on topics here, and I don't want to force you into a box.
Right.
So.
You did say there would be no structure and only gibberish in this.
You want to talk about the Batman, Masters of the Universe, your favorite Transformers movie? I don't care.
Finish up with the Batman.
Frank Langella.
Overall, I liked the Batman, though I feel it had several missed opportunities, and it was too long. But I liked it. Brian?
I liked that Batman occasionally had like a thick New York accent, but only like some of the time. And that Bruce Wayne speaks exactly the same as Batman, and no one puts this together, even when Batman and Bruce Wayne have talked to the same people like within a day. Anyway. Yeah.
Jim, final thoughts.
I loved the Batman. It's my favorite Batman movie.
My favorite Batman
movie. It might be one of my favorite movies. I love it. I thoroughly enjoyed it and was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
And I want that Batmobile so bad.
I want them to make a second movie that's actually good.
Oh, yeah.
I want them to make a second movie that's really
good. Here's my final thought. Halloween Ends has to be good or my life is over.
That's some high stakes.
That is high stakes.
You know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, guys.
So that's fair, and perhaps you can come back and tell us how that works out for you.
Yeah.
Or I won't.
Or you won't.
We'll know how it went. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll find out one way or the other. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. It was great. We'll talk to you soon. All right,
okay.
Now I have a button for this. Hold on. Okay, we're gonna fade out now. Bye.
Bye.